Hello, my name is Madison Frye, and yesterday I made my English teacher cry. That rhymed. So yesterday I did in fact make my English teacher cry. And it's not like I'm an awful person. It's not like I bullied her into crying. That would be awful. If anybody does that, don't do that. That's so mean. But I made my English teacher cry. And how I did that was by reciting a poem. For our English class, we were working on a poetry unit, and the teacher gave us this assignment to memorize a poem and recite it in class, 14 lines or more from our textbook. I chose W.H. Auden's Stop All the Clocks, Cut Off the Telephones, which is a very sad poem. As much as I would love to recite it on here, it is in fact copyrighted, and I'm not about that life. Basically, it's about this woman who loses her lover, and she's really sad, and she's just kind of like, I have no more purpose, life just means nothing. So I decided to do this poem because I like sad things. I did this poem, and I got up in front of the class, and oh dear God, I was nervous. Like, I did acting and stuff, but with acting you have like weeks to prepare. I mean, technically I had weeks to prepare for this, but I chose to wait till the day before. Because I'm a procrastinator. But I got up in front of the class and I did the poem, and I looked up and my English teacher was crying. And I was like, okay, I guess that's a good thing that I made her cry, that I did a good enough job where she was like upset. Turns out she later said in class that she's gonna prohibit people from doing that poem because every year she cries. But this brings up an interesting fact for me. As somebody who loves poetry, I think that it is not utilized enough in today's society and that kids should know more about it. The amount of people who go, oh, when they say that we're gonna do a poetry unit is really upsetting to me, because I think poetry is some of the best literature that we have. Also, do kids not realize that song lyrics are just poetry put to a melody? I mean, poetry helps people feel without having to read a whole novel or read a whole story. Poetry tells a story within 14 lines, or sometimes less, or sometimes more. Obviously, you have poems like Leaves of Grass that take from 7 in the morning until dusk to read. So the fact that I could make my English teacher cry in 16 lines of poetry really just shows how much you can feel when you hear poetry and listen to a poem, as opposed to other things. I mean, sure, lots of people cry in books. It's because you get attached to characters. Poetry it's so hard to explain why I love it. And people oftentimes, they're like, what? You like poetry? And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's so rhythmic and there's so much more emotion put into it, I feel. I love reading, and there's a lot of emotion put into books and novels and stuff. With poetry, the main point of it oftentimes is tone. And we learned a lot about tone in my class, and I quite like the concept, because tone isn't technically what you feel, it's what the author wants you to feel. And poetry is all about feeling. I don't know, I'm kind of making this video to try and encourage people to read more poetry. And it doesn't have to be old, like Emily Dickinson, Edgar Allan Poe, sonnets from Shakespeare. It doesn't have to be that. Poetry, there's modern stuff. Sylvia Plath has written some poetry. There's a great poem called Barbie Doll from the 70s or 80s, I think, that's still so relevant today to young girls, and I don't think people realize that there's stuff outside of just the classics, and that if you were to look into poetry, it would really help people understand society and understand each other better, because to understand people, you need to understand emotion. And that's the story of how I made my English teacher cry, which is how I started out here, but mainly I wanted to stress the point that people should read poetry more, because poetry will help you in your life. You'll become more literate, you'll become more educated, and you'll become a better people person. I'm thinking of starting a little thing where I talk about different Shakespearean sonnets and plays, because I'm a nerd like that, and I love Shakespeare, and I feel like a lot of kids could really use that in their lives, because we learn Shakespeare and nobody really understands it, except for the couple of people like yours truly. So that's all for today. If you like this video, if you feel you want to, please give it a thumbs up, and then you can comment down below some of your favorite poems if you have any, or if any of you actually want to do that. And then if you want to see more of my content as I upload, then you can subscribe down below. I will see you maybe next week, hopefully next week, and that's about it. Read more poetry.